Thursday afternoon chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please put your hands together unless you're driving for the Godfather, Mr. TobyMac.
He had to go there, ladies and gentlemen.
Am I the only one that refers to you as the Godfather? I thought it would have caught on by now.
All the goatee guys call me the boss.
Okay.
Which, Springsteen already took that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, I mean, just growing up as a DC Talk kid, DC Talk was set the bar, pioneering this new sound that as a Christian kid growing up, we hadn't heard that. I probably told you this, but I still remember the day my buddy walked, like it was like a Seinfeld episode, like the door opened wide, and he walked in and he was holding the Jesus Freak album. Was that cassette? No, it would have been a CD, and he like proclaimed, "It's not rap." And we sat there and we consumed every song, and we'd never heard faith-based music in such a cool mainstream way.
Wow.
And so that's where that Godfather reference is sort of everywhere you've gone, you've set the bar and done the things that everybody was waiting to hear, and you went and did it. So anyway, it is a
Thank you,
complimentary term.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I know that, and I'm grateful.
Yeah. Let's talk new music, though, because here we go again. Tomorrow, actually tonight at midnight, new TobyMac album is out called The Elements. And what are we at now? Is this number 7, 8, or we stop counting at some point?
I think 7 solo.
Okay.
Post DC Talk, which DC Talk just did 5.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this longer than DC Talk.
That's crazy.
By a good amount, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I usually put a record out every 3 years, generally from DC Talk to today. Mm-hmm. I did this one in 2 years and 2 months, so
yeah,
I was busting it.
Yeah.
To get it finished, and to, just because I try to be real patient, wait for songs to kind of breathe through me. I really call out to God a lot. I don't take writing songs for granted. I really, really try to think about what's going on in the world and what's going on in my life, and really try to lean into God and say, what's up? Like, what you want me to say, Daddy?
Right. And it helps. I love that. I'm gonna adopt what you've done. I mean, just having I have a 30-minute commute to work, but the fact that when it's time to make an album, you can tell your wife, I'm going for a walk. And to have a studio that close.
Yeah.
Like one day, if I'm like doing stations all over the country and I'm 60, because I can do this till I'm 60 something.
Yes.
I need that studio in my house.
Yeah.
I need the ability to. Here's home. Here's me eating eggs. I'm gonna be in the other room making magic.
Yes.
No. I'm bugging my bosses all the time about. You guys can set me up at my house to do this show.
Yeah.
And the keys are right down there.
You might. It might be good and bad. Like it might be that it's because I don't have mine's a little walk away, which is kind of cool because it's close. Like it's quarter mile, but in your house can be tough sometimes because I think your family knows you're there and they're coming in. You might be doing something they bust up in there, which but it's having the studio in the house.
Yeah.
Can work, but it can also be tough.
Right, maybe post kids. Yeah, let's talk. The new song is Everything, and just from a vibe standpoint, it's. I think anybody that hears the song instantly musically takes you back to an era, and it's like, oh, that feels good, like, because that sound resonates with. And I can't even pinpoint what it is. If it's a.
I think it's kind of 90s R&B, but it might be for me. Like I think about New Edition, which is 80s,
right?
But it's just a good 90s R&B melody, and track.
Well, can you walk me up everything? Maybe DNA.
Yeah.
Heart behind it.
I really got in the car one day and I had this song in my head that I felt like I was gonna write, but it really wasn't in my heart. So I had a 20-minute drive to the studio that day because I was working in Berry Hill in Nashville, and I just threw up a prayer. I said, God, if you don't want me to write this song that's in my head, then show me something. And I was just driving and looking around, looking at people, looking at the skyline, looking at, the blue skies, looking at, just enjoying myself and listening to music. And God was kind of like, Toby, I'm not going to show you something. I'm going to show you me in everything.
Yeah.
In the song, I just literally wrote, I see you in everything. Right there on the spot. Walked in the studio to the guy I was going to write it with. I always have a melody and a lyric, and I walk in with a concept, usually, and a lyric, typically. I walked in, I'm like, I got this melody. I see you in everything. He's like, all right, what's the other thing you had? And so I started going, and I walked outside. I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, this is dope. Like, this is really dope. And David kept looking at me like, let's work on the other thing. And what's funny is his 2 words flipped him. I was walking outside of his studio. I took a little walk to just kind of think a little bit. And I said, I see you in everything all day. And I walked in, I sang him that. He goes, now you got something. Now you got something. Like, all he needed was that all day. It's right. So from there, I just started writing about the things I was seeing. And fighting to, I've talked to you a lot about this, but fighting to remain unjaded, fighting to keep a soft heart, fighting to look for God in everything. Like, look for God in your relationships, the tough ones even. Look for God in your children growing up. Look for God in your music. You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of start looking for Him in nature. And suddenly, like, your heart your soul starts to awaken to where He is and that He's a part of everything. And that, to me, is the big fight. I wake up every morning, fist up, trying to fight off the jaded spirit. Because when you've been doing it for a little while, like you and I, it's easy to just go, okay, I got to do this. But I want to be out there just alive and loving it and believing fully.
Yeah. You can find that song on the new album from TobyMac. The song's called Everything. Album comes out, if you're a night owl, this evening. If not, tomorrow morning. The Elements from TobyMac. Which is tougher for you, raising 5 children or starting out in the record business? Which of those two, if you were to look at the landscape of trying to make your name a known name and make a living doing it, or just child rear, which one of those was up?
Definitely child rearing.
Really?
Come on, man. I mean, Michael, Kevin, and I were just like, 3 little minions jumping in a U-Haul truck with our whole dorm room in the back, driving to Nashville, and doors just kind of opened. I mean, was it hard? Did we play a lot of tiny shows? Did we have to work hard? Absolutely. But it came pretty quickly as DC Talk.
Right.
Recreating as TobyMac was scary. Like, I felt insecure. I felt like, not even doing it. I was just going to be a record exec at Goatee. But then somebody asked me to do Extreme Days, and that led to all this. Like, really doing a movie soundtrack song. I wasn't even going to do a solo record. But raising 5 kids, I don't know about you having 3, right? But I find myself in the trenches every day, and it doesn't stop. I mean, from 12, or from young, but now I'm 12 to 19, and like, it doesn't stop. It's even when they're in college, you're still raising those kids. You know what I mean? But you're dealing with middle school problems, high school problems, and now college problems. What?
How do you and Amanda handle cell phones? And you were talking a bit ago about having multiple ranges with your children, from 20 down to young ones.
Yeah.
But how do you guys in this day and age handle cell phones and social media for our listeners that are probably going through that same problem as parents? What should I?
Yeah. Well, they hand them in around dinner time. We just have a place, and they just lay them there. It's not like I always was going to do something cool, but I never did.
Like a bucket, like an offering plate?
Yeah.
Put your phones in.
Yeah. They just kind of lay them there, and then... So, we have dinner together every night. I've told you that before. We like to sit around the table and talk, catch up. I think dinner's kind of a lost beautiful thing in America. I think having dinner around the table and talking to each other and finding out about each other's day. We'll ask them, did you see God in anything today? We literally ask that question. And what was the high and low of your day? And it just keeps us looking eye to eye, because they could have their head in their phone or playing Fortnite, till the cows come home. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important. And we let them have a little phone time right after. And we do gaming only on weekends.
Right. Man, you're tougher than me.
Once in a while, if they're good, we hit one night a week. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like one night a week if they did their homework.
Because that's impressive what you're doing, because I think a lot of people see exactly what you're saying is that's healthy, but it's a fight, and sometimes you're so exhausted that you don't. It's like trying to get a little kid to eat vegetables. You know he needs them, but I'm so exhausted from the day, I'm not ready to fight him on it. So here's your nuggets.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's the same with the phone. I think I know it's healthy for you to not be on that, but I just don't want to. I don't want to argue with you tonight over put that thing in the bucket.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
I have a warrior, and I know you do too, for a wife. So she goes in and handles things.
Yeah.
Handles things. I'm like second fiddle. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I come at them like, hey, it'd be a really good idea if you put that away.
That's exactly
Because I'm
right.
their buddy. And I think my wife hates it because you're their friend. They don't even listen to you because you're suggesting.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I'm like, hey, I think that wouldn't be very good for you. And the man is like, get that thing.
That's my wife. I get scared. I start to turn my phone in when she starts yelling.
Same.
New TobyMac album is out tonight at midnight, or tomorrow morning. Basically, The Elements is out. And let me do artist choice real quick. What is your favorite song that you're most proud of on the album that I can play?
Yeah. I'm probably most proud of a song called Scars. And it, I wrote it I had several people in my head when I was writing, but I mostly wrote it for my son Truett. And it just talks about the scars that come with living, and that don't worry, you're not alone in it. We all have scars, but lift your head, because it's not over. It's like God's aware of your scars, and He loves you right where you are with all your scars. And it's pretty personal, the verses. Second verse, I really got into it specifically with him. But, it's just funny how much I celebrate him and love him. But he's, he's made some mistakes along the way, but he's an amazing kid, and he's God's child, absolutely.
I just adore him because every time I have ever talked to him, he calls me sir. And I'm just like, this is a lost art in this country. Yeah.
He's an incredible young man, and I love this part of our life that we're doing together right now.
Yeah.
It's not friends. I'm not his friend, but I do kick it with him. And it's just changed, and he's making his decisions now, and I like to see him making them. And I this song is one way I was telling him that I love him.
Yeah, that's awesome. At this stage of your career, what are you listening to find ideas and develop? You don't even have to say for what is on The Elements, but because maybe album one, or back in the day, Eye on It, something like that. You evolve over time. But these days, what do you go to musically to try to stay fresh, like you talked about?
Yeah, what's funny is like I have a theory, like I call it being in the river of life and music. Like most people at some point in their life, they sort of get out if they're going down this river called music, let's say, most people get out on a bank and say, maybe it's the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or 2000 or 2010. They get out and they say, this is my era, this is my music, and they stop moving forward with music, and they listen to just that. My dad did it. He would listen to, all he would listen to is Johnny Mathis and Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was like the 60s music. That's where my dad said, this is mine. And when I'd play new songs, he'd be like, that's trash. You know what I mean? I kind of have never come out of the river. I've just always loved the river and moving with where music is going and being part of the musical culture, wherever it is. So you'll hear little influences in my records. It won't always be that I'm not trying to copy anything. It's just I'm part of the moving river of music. So this is what my songs sound like. I will always be a JT fan. I'll always be a Bruno fan. I'm a Torrin Wells fan. I mean, you know, what I mean, like I lean toward R&B and hip hop, but I like rock and roll too, especially funky rock. So yeah, I mean that's probably the things that affect me the most, I'd say.
Awesome. Congrats on the new album, out tomorrow or tonight at midnight, called The Elements, from TobyMac, and adore you and thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
The Thursday Afternoon Chat, your favorite artists with Jayar.